Planet 12? The fuck is a Planet 12? The hell is that? Lord, I lost his damn mind. That's pretty much all I heard when I first started presenting the concept of this whole Planet 12 mission that I was on. And, of course, in true LA Dub rebellious spirit, I really didn't give a damn what anybody thought because I knew that I was on to something. And the whole purpose was to stand out from the musical landscape that was going on at that time because you had so many different dope musical groups coming out at the time. You had Nirvana on the rock side. You had Boot Camp Clip, my boys Rockin' and Sean Price. You had Wu-Tang get ready to come out. You had Biggie, you had Nas. Then the Roots came out later, the Outkast came out later. These were some groundbreaking groups that were doing some things. And this is all in between the concept of what we was coming up with. Same thing with the Fugees as well. I knew I was on to something. I knew that I was really, really on to something. And when those groups came out after I was already formulating my concept, I knew that I wasn't wrong or off beat, no matter what the record labels were trying to tell me during that time. So fast forward to my sophomore year in high school, the Planet 12 concept, I took all this time to build it up. I even decided on the kind of image I wanted to have. So I grew my hair out because Redman's one of my favorite MCs, so I started to grow my hair out a little bit more like his and come up with my own concept of how to put together an image that's going to represent Planet 12. So, of course, it started with the footwear because, at that time, most of us Brooklyn hood boys, we was trying to dress like boot camp and then with the army fatigues and the Timberlands. And by the way, for those who are listening, they are the first guys. They put that style of clothes on the map because it was our way of saying there's a war going on in the streets, and there really was. This is during the D-Sep era, the crack wars, all that stuff was going on in Brooklyn. So, it was a representation of that. So a lot of the young cats like myself was dressing up with the Carhartt hoodies, the Timberland boots, the polo shirt. This is before Kanye West. We already had the polo shirts on lockdown and all that kind of stuff. But I knew that I wanted to do something a little bit different than what everybody else was doing. So it started with the footwear. And at that time when it came to sneakers, everybody and their mother had a pair of Jordans. And I didn't want to wear what everybody else was wearing. So I started getting into New Balances. And that's how that whole New Balance thing started for me. I really wanted to stand out because they were comfortable. You could run in them, you can walk in them, you can dance in them, and they were stylish. And plus, I had a lot of different outfits in my closet, from Tommy Hilfiger to Jabot, and everything was matching with what the sneakers I had on. Plus, my hair was out the hair. And at that time, jewelry, even back then as it is now, was still the big status quo. So if you had $20,000 worth of jewelry on, you was considered the man and the whole bit, which is true in some sense. But again, I knew I wanted to be different, so I chose white gold and sterling silver. I was still wearing gold too. I had a gold scorpion ring, kind of like the one that y'all see me wearing now. This actually used to be a gold ring, but I started rocking with that because it just looked more shimmery to me and it was cool to me. And everybody was wearing the baseball fitted caps, trying to like dub it DeVoe, and everybody was wearing their favorite teams on their hats and stuff like that. But I wanted the Scully. I got that concept with the Kango, of course, from LL Cool J. And believe it or not, Philip Bailey. Yes, Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind & Fire. For all the Earth, Wind & Fire fans, if you look at their very first album on Columbia Records, which is called Last Days in Time, there's a young Philip Bailey with a pullover hat that looks like a Kango. So that's where I got the style for those different kind of brim hats that I wear. Same thing with Marlon and Michael Jackson when they were in the Jackson 5. You look at some of those early photos when Michael was singing Who's Loving You and Ed Sullivan, he had this dope looking brim that he got from a hat store in Detroit. So I really was into a lot of vintage clothing and just being different. And now I needed something to really package the Planet 12 concept with, because if I knew if I did it alone, I was going to have to suffer to get the embarrassment part of what people might have thought if I was coming out looking all weird with my crazy hair and all this other stuff. So I put together a group called the Bionic Idiots. I know, take a minute to laugh. I know you want to get it all out. Bionic Idiots was basically a phrase that I heard George Clinton say on the Parliament song called Mr. Wiggles from the Moated Booty Affair album, where he says, I'm Mr. Wiggles the Worm, and these are my ladies Giggles and Squirm, 3 bionic idiots. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. Let me take that. And plus, it made sense. The only difference that we did is that we added another D to the idiots, because idiots only spelled with one D, so we added one more D, and we changed we changed the S to a Z in true hip hop fashion. So it was really a collective thing in my brain, because lyrically we were stupid off the chain, and at that time, as most true hip hop is known. When somebody says it's time to get ill or it's time to get stupid or it's time to get dumb, that means that you were about to say something dope or that you was about to get the crowd in the uproar. So of course our parents and the older generation, they was like, why would you say time to get stupid? That's not a very nice thing to say, you know, that sort of thing. But I know how it is when there's a generational gap between your mother and yourself. But we knew what we were doing. And the ultimate goal that I wanted to have for my group was to pay homage to P-Funk for the tremendous influence they had on my style and my sound, and to also be better than Digital Underground, who was also using the P-Funk concept when they came out with the Humpty Dance and Do What You Like and all that other stuff, because we thought that we were better than them. So, and that's no disrespect, because I love Shock G. Shock G and Money B, those are my boys, and Sex Packers is one of the greatest rap albums ever made, and I studied it intensely, because in essence, though, we wanted to compete with them. We really just wanted to be like them, or to let them know that y'all not the only motherfuckers thinking about P-Funk the way that y'all are. We are on the East Coast, too, because they from California. So it was really, really deep during that time, because I put together 5 different guys with 5 different personalities, but we all still had the same Brooklyn hood mentality, which made us gel together. And in the true tradition of the group Kiss, who, as everybody knows, I'm a true diehard Kiss fan, I was into creating the same kind of concepts where each of the members had a different character that represented things that they liked. So when people would see us on stage or hear us on record, they would easily be able to identify if that personality connects with them. So first up, you had Malik Evans, a.k.a. Kaleidoscope. He was like the old dirty bastard of the crew, because he was wild and crazy, but when he came spitting rhymes, this boy was ridiculous. And out of all of us in the group, even though we're all Brooklyn hood and had street cred, he had the most dangerous street cred, because Malik was already in the streets dealing and hustling and you know, and doing what all the young guys were doing at that time when the crack epidemic hit. So he definitely brought even extra street cred to what we were doing. And then you had James Popper, who's better known as Ghoulie Eyes. And he was like the nerdy looking, scientist looking guy in our group. He looked a lot like Paz from De La Soul. So he had this look about him that just read like, oh, okay, he looks like a normal nerd or a nobody. But then when you hear him spit, he's spitting scientific words to you. He's telling you, so I kick a nigga in his testicles, looking through my spectacles. Like he was a fly lyrical nerd. So that I wanted to market him in that way. Then you had Jonathan Davis, who of course one of my very best friends. You know, he was Sherlock Holmes. Notice the name, Sherlock Holmes, not Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was a gangster reference to the gun of choice at that time. Everybody in their raps was talking about busting dudes in the head with their Glocks and all that kind of stuff. So he took the name Sherlock Holmes, and it fit his personality too, because Jonathan was the kind of dude who was very, very late. He can get wild on stage and have fun and dance and do the whole bit, but off stage he was just like real laid back, didn't say much. You know, he's the kind of dude, like very much like Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang. He's a dude that would just kind of look back at you and watch you play yourself. So he was definitely that kind of cat. And then you had DJ Khalif Murphy, who was my very best friend and still with me to this day, in aiding the Planetary Vision. You know, he was the last member to join on, because he's a mutual friend of me and James. So when he came into the crew, we realized that we're going to start doing shows and all this different stuff. We needed a DJ, so it was good to have. Then you have me, the fearless leader, L.A. Law. Yeah, I named myself after the TV show, but I came up with different acronyms for it. So L.A. Law pretty much stood for Lyrical Assassinator, Loving All Women. And it makes a lot of sense, as I explained to y'all in that blog from last year when I told y'all how I put together the moniker for my name. Because L.A. stood for Lyrical Assassinator. That's the hip-hop, rap, lyrical, dangerous side of me. And loving all women because of, you know, my charm with the girls in school and the fact that I love to sing to girls. And at that time, you know, besides music and comic books and making a little bit of money, me and Sherlock and Khalif, we were really into girls, you know, like any other Brooklyn hood boy was, or should have been at least. So, you know, I combined both of those worlds together. And I was the producer, the leader, the main chief, and we were really going in the right direction when Jonathan's uncle was good friends with this strong up-and-coming management artist development company called Henchman Entertainment, which was led by the legendary, one of my mentors, Jimmy Rosman, and his brother Mario Rosman. Shout outs to them as well. I love those guys for what they did for us, because we learned so much about the industry through being at those offices and learning and them giving us the freedom to develop and do what we do best. And I thank Jimmy and Mario a lot because unlike most companies, they allowed me to produce my own material. So the name of the group is called LA Law and the Bionic Idiots. Now, can you imagine going around hollering that name during the time period of Pete Rock and CL Smooth and Gangstar and all these other different groups that would come in with a dope, aggressive street or different type of hip hop or different vibe, and then we come with some extra other shit. It was really, really dope because in the studio I was allowed to produce myself. So I started hooking up with a lot of my favorite producers. You know, you had Little Sean, you know, who was up and on the rise and doing his thing as well. Sweet Tea, one of my favorite female MCs, she would stop by the office a lot on Hitch Entertainment. Then you had one of my favorite MCs, Roz Kaz, you know, who I'm still cool with to this day. I learned a lot from him lyrically because I was just, you know, he would come in the office, just be hanging out, but then I would hear all his stuff like Soul on Ice, and I realized the kind of MC I really wanted to be by listening to him and Chino XL. And just working. I was pretty much putting all the concepts together, and that's how the Planet 12 sound came about, because the Planet 12 sound is a combination of all the modern technology and the live instrumentation. So I would have an MPC 60 in one room, and I would have my Fender bass in another room. And while most rap groups and rappers were sampling a lot of jazz records at that time, which was dope too, but I really wanted to be different. I started sampling a lot of funk rock stuff, you know, like Vanilla Fudge or 10cc, Rainbow, Deep Purple. I was sampling a lot of the old psychedelic rock funk groups from the 70s, and they had these hard drums and these fuzzy bass lines and overtones. Sign the Family Stone was really influencing me at that time as well. So I was taking all of this and putting it through the veins of hip hop and presenting it with a P-Funk Kiss-like image. So the rest was history after that. We started doing shows. The first show we did was opening for a new company called Bad Boy Entertainment. Wonder whatever happened to those guys. Their flagship artist who was on the roster first was a guy by the name of Craig Mack, who had this little record out called Flavor in Your Ear. Now at the time, Flavor in Your Ear didn't even come out yet. It was only being played in all the offices. I remember one of the interns that worked for Henchman ran in with the videos, like, yo, check this shit out. This is gonna be the dope. I'm telling you, this label's gonna be hot. And we was like, yo, it's pretty dope. And all of a sudden, Mario was like, I'm glad y'all guys think so, because y'all gonna be opening up for this guy in another week or so. It's our first show. I think it was in Mount Vernon, if I'm not mistaken. I spent the whole 3 weeks rehearsing my group because I realized that we wanted to be totally different from everybody else, even our stage show, because back then most guys just walked around, they rapped, and that was corny to us. You know, I was more like how Big Daddy Kane was, who's my second favorite MC. I wanted to put on the show. I'm going to give you the dance steps. I wanted to give you rock and roll. I wanted to give you energy. I wanted to get hype. And the only other group that was bringing that sort of thing besides Big Daddy Kane was Leaders of the New School. They just had the energy, especially Busta Rhymes. So it was almost like I wanted to combine all those different things into one show. Long story short, we kicked some ass, and we opened up for Craig Mack. Craig Mack came out, did his thing, Flavor in the Ear. People was feeling it, and we was talking to him. I'll never forget as long as I live. We were sitting there talking, just asking, what is it like? You know, how has it been for you so far? He's like, I'm really enjoying myself. The record's getting a lot of play now on the radio and different things like that. And we wanted to hook up with him the following week. But he was like, no, I'm about to go on the road like another week, so I'll hit y'all when I come back. We never saw Craig Mack again, because right around that time, that's when Bad Boy Records had officially made their mark, as Flavor in Your Ear went #1 to the charts, and Craig Mack became a dude. And then when he did the remix, he featured another character who my boy Free from the group Duo Live, shout out to Duo Live, Free and Sid, had battled back in high school. This big fat black kid from St. James Place, who I remember seeing when we would always pass through and different things like that. We never knew that the dude rhymed. And then one day I remember Free coming to the school telling me how he burnt this nigga and the whole bit. Nevertheless, as y'all know, that guy became later known to the world as Notorious B.I.G., a.k.a. Biggie Smalls. That's the whole Planet 12 concept. I know I got some more stories to tell y'all, so be on the lookout for some more of my vlogs. Peace.